Good morning from Turin once again. It's the day of the first semi-final, or at least 50% of the result of that first semi-final of Eurovision 2022, with the jury show coming up tonight. And I'm going to talk about that, as promised yesterday, in depth with Stefan Gorkum and Erik Bolks, both from ESC Daily as well. First overall, we're gonna walk by every nation in this semi-final one by one. Okay. But first, overall impression of the first semi-final when it comes to how jury-friendly this show is, Erik? Or unfriendly?
I never watched it like that. I just watched like the whole thing, and in general, what is the general impression I get? And the general impression I get is that it's a stronger semi than the second. I think for the juries there are several songs that are jury-friendly, and those are the songs that viewers might think are a little boring and might be forgotten at the televote, like Portugal and Iceland.
Steve, I'm going to ask the same question to you, and I think you have a different answer, because I know you always like to put yourself in the shoes of the jurors and how they will perceive each song.
I do, but I think actually Erik may be thinking a bit like a juror, saying that this semi-final is a stronger one, which I agree that it is. But that's also because of when you look at it from a jury perspective. Because in that second semi-final, I think there's way more songs that we discussed this, like, okay, between a San Marino and now look at all those songs from that second semi-final, who are they going to put in the last place, and who are they going to put, like, there's at least 5 or 6 songs in that semi that juries will definitely need to downgrade. In this semi-final, I mean, there's still plenty of stuff with red flags. We'll talk about that more in later on, but I think there's also plenty to like for juries tonight.
Let's start with Albania. It's the show opener. It's the opener of the whole Eurovision Song Contest. Do you like it in general, Erik, as a show opener, as the opener of a Eurovision year?
For a show opener, you need action and explosions and the wow effect. And when they chose Albania to open, I was thinking, okay, that's a nice opener. But having seen it, I think, it's a little bit lackluster if you coming from that perspective.
What makes it lackluster?
It's too ordinary for me, so people might turn off. It's not that energetic as I would hope for.
Is Albania one of those nations in this semi-final, and there are multiple of those that probably need the televote more than a jury vote?
They do, and the interesting thing for them tonight is not so much that they need to get their points to qualify tonight, but that they can't win qualification tonight, but they can lose it, because if it's that bad, they already have a highly sexualized performance, which might be a red flag for juries. It's not a very jury-friendly song, so in that sense, you would say that her vocals need to be at least acceptable tonight for her not to finish too low on the jury side of it.
What about Latvia? And is that because of the lines jury unfriendly, or?
It's an interesting one. I think that it has potential question marks in the sense of both text. Some can perceive this as being also unfriendly to women, maybe, but it can also be perceived as a joke entry, which is the FOP effect can be in place there, and this is an issue, I think, with juries, but there is a question mark because they do have a serious message, and if you ask it to them, which I have done at the press conference, they'll tell you that they're serious about that message. They have updated their own diets, and they have made changes in their lives. So they are serious, but whether juries will see it that way, I'm not sure.
The bookmakers currently, they're always shifting and drifting a bit, Erik, but at this moment, Monday morning, the Monday of the first semi-final, they have Latvia as a qualifier. Do you as well?
If it qualifies, it's just a borderline qualifier. I think if the jurors had done their homework, they would see that musically it's quite interesting and quite a nice composition. But I think televote might forget them as well.
Do Lithuania and perhaps also Switzerland coming up next after that benefit from the fact that Albania and Latvia are in front of them?
I do think, and especially I do think so, and I especially for Lithuania, that's the first serious credible entry for in the way I'm not saying speaking my own mind right now, but I'm trying to look at it the way a jury generally does at Eurovision. That's the first serious and credible entry that they're looking at. It's also it'll also have decent vocals from what we've seen and heard so far. So that is I think that is a song that could do well with juries. But the question for her is, will it do well enough? Because it might have a huge split, being in third place, being instantly forgettable for televoters. It may have a very big split between the televote and jury vote.
We've seen her at at pre-selection shows, at her own national final, and she was shouting to the audience a lot of times. Is she still doing that while here in Torino?
No, she stopped that, and I think that's because once you've done it in the rehearsals, you have to do it during the jury and live show as well. So I think she is being smart here and not yell too much in between the songs, which is quite typical because a lot of acts this year scream like, "Come on, Europe, keep your hands up," and I really hate that. And for juries, I think that's a turn off as well.
Then we talk about Switzerland. They have been drifting a bit in the bookmakers' list. They still perceive him as a qualifier, but what's the reason that they dropped so many places?
I think he didn't have great rehearsals. He has some credibility issues, not in terms of song, not in terms of vocals, but definitely in terms of presentation. I think Sacha Jean-Baptiste tried to make him dance like she did with Gjon Steers. We had question marks about that back then, but this may be worse. But I think that's mainly a problem for televoters, because we saw it last year as well with Gjon Steers, that it was not so much like juries didn't mind it that much as long as you sing it well, which I expect Marius to do, and as long as you have a song that's friendly for them. They tend to forget those kind of movements, but I think it will be mainly more of an issue with televoters.
How do you look at Slovenia? Or is that a nation that will do better in the jury vote or the televote, or will it be? Is it a country that could like have a similar result?
Similar in the way that will be like not the lowest and not the highest. It will be very average, and they have the bad luck that they are drawn just before Ukraine. I think everything before Ukraine is instantly forgotten once Ukraine gets on the stage.
Do you agree?
I think Slovenia will be very low on the televote side. I think it will be a bit higher on the jury side, but I don't see it as a qualifier in either of those lists.
Eric just said as well, Ukraine is coming up next after Slovenia, that they will like make you forget all the entries that were before that. Do you agree with that statement?
I don't think that Ukraine is that much of a powerhouse this year. It's not a Lordi that really makes you forget everything that came before them. I do think that with Slovenia already being the kind of entry that has the risk of being forgotten, then having one of the better entries of this year coming after it doesn't help. So yeah, that's why I think it is a potential, maybe even last place with televoters because of that. But it's not because everything in front of Ukraine would have been forgotten. It's because of the song that it already is, and then in combination with the other fact.
In our talk show we made with our cameras as well, people can see that. Eric, you said Ukraine will win this year, but for the wrong reasons. Do you think in the result, that's how you think it will end up at the end of this week, you will see that mainly in the jury vote, that they get more jury points than they would have gotten if the situation in the world was different?
I think both juries will give extra points to Ukraine. Actually, I think that the televote will show is like 8s, 10s and 12s only. Except from Serbia, maybe. Because they don't seem to, they seem to have peace with that. Russia.
Yeah, I've been to Belgrade recently. They look at things a bit differently than many other countries in Europe. That's true.
So I think in both juries they will get extra points. Jurors have to explain why they didn't give points to that so pitiful nation. And as soon as they put Ukraine low, which they won't because quality-wise it is already a good entry. But if they put them out of top 10, then people will question them whether they support Russia, probably.
You're not on board with Eric's theory, right, Steve?
No, I don't look at this from a political perspective at all. I look at it from a song perspective, and then Ukraine is an interesting one for me when you think about juries, because it has both red and green flags going for it. Even if you just look at it in terms of composition, like yes, it does have these ethnic elements that juries tend not to like so much, and the performance and the whole act, it can come across as a little bit, messy. On the other hand, it's also a rap entry, and even though many people may not know this, but we've studied jury results over the past couple of years, and we found that rap entries tend to do better with juries than with televoters. So for me, Ukraine is a bit of a question mark with juries, even when I completely exclude the whole political perspective to it, because I don't buy into that theory.
Then we move on to Bulgaria. They portray themselves, at least their broadcaster on Twitter, they're most active on Twitter, portray them as these are true musicians and they're in the music scene for such a long time. If jurors also see it like that, that would be a big green flag for them with the jury.
It would. Now, rock is not necessarily a jury-friendly genre. This song, I mean, it's not great. It doesn't have like the big outstanding like the love or hate stuff that, for example, Finland, for example, for last year had. But then again, it almost feels wrong to compare it with an entry like that because quality-wise, it just lacks so much. So I don't think either televoters or juries are really going to go for this.
What about the Netherlands? It's a nation we were last year, of course, when Eurovision was hosted there. It's the nation where we all three of us come from. We don't have to make a secret about that. You can hear it in my accent at least, so there's no point in
Trying to hide.
in trying to hide it. What do you think of the chances of S-Team?
Qualification for sure. It's not my favorite. I don't like the song that much, but I understand why they chose it and I understand why people like it. She gives a steady performance. It's been brought quite intimately, if you ask me. I think it's no doubt final. Yeah.
At some points I had to think about Blanche, the girl from Belgium, a couple of years ago, in the way that beforehand people said, oh, this is typical jury stuff, it's a bit artistic and stuff like that. And I have that same vibe with the Netherlands this year, but when you look back at it, it's also something, perhaps even more, these artistic things that connect to televoters. Could that be a surprise to many that the Netherlands suddenly, for the first time in a long time, gets a better televote than a jury result?
Well, one of the biggest myths about jury televote splits that our model about jury voting has revealed is that when it comes to really cutting edge, new music stuff like true music, it's generally televoters are better at recognizing true quality in composition, like something really new and refreshing, than juries, because juries tend to go more for what has done well in the past or what's more safe and more middle of the road. So in that sense, I think that this composition which has that modernity will fare maybe in terms of song better with televoters than with juries. Then again, if you look at it in this semi-final, and if you look at the running order and all the performances around it, it may be that in this semi-final, and because of her good voice, that if she gives a very good vocal performance tonight, in the end it will be more of an even split between those two.
Song number 9 is Moldova. Yeah, I would say that is a typical song that will do probably very well in the televote, but jury vote, I'm not sure.
Maybe not that much, but then again, I think that's why Moldova for me is quite a certain qualifier, but I don't see it doing well in the grand final. And why? Because in this field, with only 17 songs, and you can easily name 5, maybe 6 that are less jury friendly than Moldova. So even when they're not a big jury favorite, they'll still come 12, 11, maybe even 10 or 9. And then they'll easily qualify. Then you get to the grand final, the standard is higher, the level of the songs is higher, there are more songs. All of a sudden they become 22 in a jury vote and they're nowhere near the top 10, for example.
They're taking part for the third time now already, of course, the group from Moldova. How do you look at that? Artists that keep on coming back.
Well, in the fan crowd, returning artists are always being more favored than newcomers. But I look at this one as being the most ethnic one they entered and the least exclusive one. I think they could have done more over the top as a circus act, but I think they went for the quality of the music because the what's the name of the instrument? Accordion, and the violin give this ethnic accent that will appeal to juries maybe a little bit more than, and it's only one of the two really happy tunes this year. So it's a quite depressing semi-final if you look at it musically.
Yeah, especially when you look at the upcoming block of nations. It's for me it's the weakest part of the semi-final, starting with maybe with Portugal. I don't think that's that weak, but then you have Croatia, Denmark, Austria. Yeah, Denmark. We will talk about Denmark as well. Enjoy. But first, Portugal and Croatia before we get there. Your opinion, Steve, about Portugal and Croatia when it comes to their jury performance tonight?
I think Portugal has again that very important green flag, the word credibility to it, like the way they staged it, the way it's done. I don't think that's necessarily a jury-friendly song for the same reason that I mentioned before, because I think it's just a bit different from the average type of stuff that you hear. But the way it is presented gives juries plenty of reason to go for it. Croatia has a jury-friendly song. It's very middle of the road. It's very it doesn't give you many reasons not to like it, if it weren't for the fact that she doesn't sing it very well. And you need good vocals to get the juries on your side. So for me, that's I don't expect her to do well tonight, but it would be a game changer if she were very good tonight, because then she does have some other aspects to it that may make it into a good jury song.
We have seen, though, in recent years, and I don't have the examples in my head, I believe we have seen that for jurors in the last 2 or 3 years, we have seen a shift that the song became even more important than the vocals. So if it's a non-offensive song to them and the vocals are somewhat weak, they will still...
I think so. I do think so. And that's why, even in general, like even if you go back 5 or 6 years, if the vocals weren't good, that was the first threshold that you needed to pass with juries. So even if the song is jury-friendly, if she sings it the way she did at the national final or at the rehearsals earlier this week, there will be no jury vote for Croatia. However, there's also the effect that, and that's what I think you're trying to mention, is that in the last 1 or definitely 2 years, like last year we saw it with Ukraine, with Finland, for example, that they do tend to favor these more artistic, more outstanding songs a little bit better than they used to in the past. But that has nothing to do with Croatia, but I think that's the effect that you were maybe referring to.
What are your thoughts about the chances, especially in the jury vote, Eric, for Portugal and Croatia?
I think Portugal is a definite yes, because it's a serene entry. Quality-wise, there's nothing wrong with it. They see and they will feel the professionalism. And for Croatia, I think the whole choreography is too disturbing to even get to listen to the lyrics or pay attention to the quite weak song. And if you pay attention to the song, it's quite repetitive, and then no jury song.
The waitress just brought in some new coffee. The serveerster, as we say. What's serveerster in Italian? You learned Italian. Waitress?
Cameriere.
Oh, yeah, grazie. Because it's time for a coffee break. Because, Eric, we're going to talk about Denmark.
This is horrible. Please continue. No, this is a kind... Well, okay, it's energetic. That's the only positive thing I can say about it. But the looks, the sound, the vocals, the way they present it, the dresses, everything is horrible to me. So
it's also very jury unfriendly, I think, because of the build-up of the song.
It is, and that's again, if you look at what juries like in terms of composition, they like stuff that they've seen before. They like middle of the road and classic stuff. Well, this song doesn't have a classic build-up. It tries to break up that classic build-up in every single way, switching the tempo from time to time, and also doing that in a very cliched manner, which also matters because, I mean, it will make juries take it less seriously as well.
How will they look and listen to Austria, the song coming after Denmark? It's radio, Eric. It's not the TV talk show. Tell us what you did.
I was just putting fingers in my ears because we heard her singing live. I hope the use of using backing tapes with lead vocals on it and putting the volume of that one high will really back off to Austria, because she can't sing actually live. She has a stage presence which is negative. I call it anti-charisma. But then the song is catchy, so I think juries will put this really, really low. But the televotes might like it because they never listen to the vocals. They just think, oh, I like it, it's a nice tune. So for me, it's a sure non-qualifier, but it might surprise by televote.
You agree with this?
No, I don't. In the sense that Austria is a borderliner with bookmakers. For me, it's not a borderline at all because I don't think that televoters will like it either. And I agree with you that televoters tend to pay less attention to vocals than juries do, but there's not enough other stuff in this as well for televoters to go for it. So I don't see it doing well with either of those.
After Denmark and Austria, we have the sisters from Iceland coming up.
And the brother.
Is their brother as well?
Yeah, the drummer is their brother.
Is he family as well?
Yes, it's the brother.
It's Iceland. Everybody's family from each other in Iceland, of course. So I should have known. Anyway, do they stand out, especially for the jury coming after Denmark and Austria? In a way, like I posted this question to you, Steve, about Lithuania coming after Albania and Latvia. Can we have a similar impact for Iceland when you look at it that way?
Yes, we could see that effect. And then there's also the harmonies effect, of course, which is something that may go unnoticed with televoters, but juries will notice it. It's like a kind of an extra thing to the extra vocal level of difficulty. And if they do that well, it might help them with juries, which is one of the reasons why I still have to consider them as a potential qualifier, even though my gut says they won't make it in the end.
Your gut says that Greece will make it, right?
It's one of.
I think everybody's gut says that, but
yeah, but
giving you some credit.
Yeah, but I have them. But I have them high on my list, not just for qualifying in this semi-final, but for doing very well in the final as well. I think it's the kind of song that can do well with both. I think it's jury friendly in the way that the staging is credible. Her vocals are good, even though they picked probably the worst possible bit that they could, to put on YouTube. So I'm getting a lot of feedback from people outside the press center saying, "Oh, I saw the 30 seconds of Greece and she wasn't good vocally." Well, she was in all those other run-throughs and all those other minutes. So yeah, I think that's one that can do very well tonight and tomorrow and on Saturday as well.
Yeah, certain qualifier, right?
Qualifying
for both jurors and televoters.
Yeah, sure, qualifier. I just not sure whether the televoters will buy the act with the chairs. I think they will not understand.
Explain a bit for people who haven't seen it yet, and there might have been be a lot.
Well, on stage you see like melted chairs, if I can call it like that, and she's walking past it. It looks like there has been a ravage or a fight, and halfway those chairs seem to melt even further by the floor lets. In a shot from above. It's kind of a weird shot, but that will not harm the televoters not voting for it.
Greece a certain qualifier. I can only agree, of course. I think the same. Greece, yeah, I agree. I like that one. I think the same goes for the last two nations that put some weight in the scale in this semi-final as well, with Norway and Armenia, both on totally different sides of the field. But Norway is an interesting one. When we talk about potential discrepancies between jurors and televoters, this could be one.
Yes, and that's another one. We were just talking about Moldova. That's another one that you will see the discrepancy maybe a lot better on Saturday than tonight, because there's already plenty of stuff tonight that juries will not like for a lot of reasons. And then Norway, even though I think it's very jury unfriendly due to this FOP effect that I mentioned before, the effect where juries feel like they're being fooled and they think like this is a joke entry. I can't be on board with this.
Isn't it one? To be honest,
it is one.
If you look at their press conferences and how they present themselves, it's all a big joke to them.
It totally is one, and I asked.
No, this is serious business. This is role playing. It is what they said. It's characters. So they it's their role to play like it's a fake and stuff and a fun entry, but actually it's quite a quality entry to me. So I think it will do well with.
But the whole role playing is like a mockery thing. It's a gimmick thing, right?
Well, if you choose this concept, you have to play it consequently, and that's what they do.
The funny thing is that I asked this exact question to their head of delegation, because I noticed at the press conference that it makes no sense at all to ask questions to the guys themselves. So I asked the head of delegation, what do you think about the role of jury vote in this contest? And he said, I think it's a good thing that it's there. And I even think that we can convince them to go for our song as well, because this is more serious than you might think. I'm not sure if juries are going to look at it that way. I highly doubt that, but that's what the head of delegation from Norway said.
The semi-final after Norway is being closed by Armenia, Rosalind and her song. How do you fancy her chances?
It's a sure qualifier because it's quite a sweet song. It's cute. There's a story to tell. People might not understand what the words that are projected on the wall that she uncovers mean, but still they see it's not teenage, but just a young girl walking through a room, singing her song and having some snap moments. I think it's a sure qualifier.
I don't think we will see a big discrepancy in Armenia's result, right? I think it's something that can do well with both jury and televote, and of course not top of their list possibly, but I think in the same range.
Yes, definitely. This is a song that has reasons for both constituencies to vote for it. I do think that right now, at least in the press center when I was there, most people see it as a more jury-friendly entry than a televote-friendly entry. I slightly disagree. I'm leaning more towards the other way, especially in the grand final. In this semi-final, it'll do well with both. It'll easily qualify. In the grand final, I think that it might even be a little bit more for televoters than for juries. But she does have a great voice, and that always goes down well with juries. So.
Steve, we're gonna watch the jury show together tonight, and on ESC Daily we will block the vocal assessment as we have been doing in recent years, of course. So every nation will get the same amount of attention and review from us. Follow that at escdaily.com. And to close it off, Eric, your Italian lesson of the day. I hear a dog barking. How do you tell the dog to stop barking?
Basta, stupido cane.
See you tomorrow. Bye bye.